Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now, today's show has to do with economics, the economics of the Star Citizen universe. Now, you may have noticed that since the 3.0 release and going into the 3.1 release, mission payouts have increased slightly, whereas profitability on the trade of actual goods via a cargo ship has dropped very dramatically. Now, this arguably happened for a couple of reasons. One, why do missions at all when you could just go do trade runs? I mean, even a ship like the Cutlass could make an enormous amount of money overnight versus doing missions which paid out trivial to jokish amounts of money for the services rendered. So, in a way, this kind of addressed the Cutlass problem because trading in a Cutlass was vastly more profitable than ever doing missions in a Cutlass. Whereas now, missions in a Cutlass, trading in a Cutlass, unless you get to a very advanced trading level where you're purchasing much more expensive goods, which with a much higher profit margin, you're still pretty much in the same ballpark in terms of earnings for time invested. Now, a lot of people have pointed out on the forum, on Reddit, that, well, you know, you'll go do a mission, you get maybe 540 UEC for this one, 340 for that one, whatever the amount. You do a couple of missions, you earn yourself a gun. Seems fair to me. I would actually argue that that is not the case. I mean, if you're hiring a pilot to travel from one moon to another, you're not only hiring the pilot, you're hiring the ship and everything that comes along with the ship, depending on the mission. Now, of course, the missions that we have right now are very simplistic because that's what the game allows. That's what the game can deal with at this time. But in the future, things are going to get a lot more complicated, and with much more complex missions and complicated circumstances, I think the payouts for missions should increase. And I would actually argue that the missions as they stand right now should pay out probably about 10 times what they're paying right now. A mission that pays out 340 UEC should actually be paying out probably closer to 3,400 when you consider like the entire act of acquiring a suit of armor, be it a heavy suit of armor, grenades, health packs, all that stuff, ammunition, and stashing all that stuff away. I mean, if it's a simple combat mission that you're going to go on, or it's a mission where combat could occur, I mean, you would need to be doing economic activity that would justify those expenses. And to me, the payouts for these missions don't justify the incidental expenses that you're going to run into to increase your chance of successfully completing the mission. A mission that, say, pays out 340 UEC would probably be more suited to, let's say you go to Levski and someone at a disreputable bar says, hey, hack into this terminal on Levski, get me this information, don't let the guards see you, bring this information, these, shall we say, like cargo manifests back to me, and I'll give you 340 UEC. That's, I feel, reasonable. If someone's asking you to go out and shut off a comms relay, get 5 crime stat rating, I feel that that should be a considerably higher payout mission. There's the added complication of getting crime stat. There's the possibility of getting caught, of getting shot, of getting killed. And $500 or UEC doesn't really sound like that much of a payout considering the circumstances that you're going to have to endure after you complete the mission. Now, trading is another one of these areas, and I think that currently right now, if you log out in your ship, I have yet to run into a successful instance where I have either crashed or fully logged out within my ship and then re-emerged in that ship and not re-emerged on Port Olisar. Even if I log out, wait a day, come back and then log back into Olisar, where the money that I spent on the cargo is all still gone from my account, yet my ship is now considered lost and I have no money and I'm sitting on Olisar. That can be a profoundly negative experience. Now, of course, that system is not a finished system. That is not a perfected system. Of course, the game is still in alpha. There are many bugs, many kinks to work out, as would be expected for a game in this stage of development. So you can't really sit there and just say, hold a gun to someone's head and say, oh, you got to fix this. You got to fix this right now, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, you have to realize that the game itself and how it plays out to anybody trying it, whether it's on a free fly weekend or someone just getting on their buddy's PC and just checking things out before they decide to get in the game, seeing things like that happen, and they right now, because of the stability of the game, which once again is understandable at this stage of development, can be a profoundly negative experience. And the PU is kind of an ambassador to the greater gaming world. Basically, this is what Star Citizen is all about. And if people's first experiences can be profoundly negative in such a way that one little mistake or even something completely out of your control, such as, you know, getting an error 30,000, getting disconnected from the server, or having the game client crash, can completely wipe you out financially. Now, some of us know how to go about recovering from something like that, but for some people, sometimes that can be enough to kind of say, you know what, that game looks pretty crappy to me right now. Now, of course, I'm sure that most of us would agree that in the final version, in the launch version of Star Citizen, things should not be so easy as Minion gets in a cutlass, you know, 4 or 5 hours later, Minion is a millionaire. No. But for the time being, you know, if you want us to go out and test different weapon configurations, and certainly in the future different module configurations in a game where stability, not just stability of the game client, but stability of the servers and stability of people being able to connect to those servers and play reliably, log out, log back in, and still get to where they were instead of being completely wiped out. Until that becomes something that players can depend upon, I think that the reward system in the game should be vastly increased to allow people to go out and explore the game and enjoy the experience a lot more, always with the understanding, even if you have to write it on every trade terminal in the game and under every mission text, these rewards are temporary and they will be curtailed once the game has achieved a certain level of stability, that we feel that a lower payout can still be profitable and still provide a decent gameplay experience. Because I would say that currently, with the game running the way it does, it is giving off the impression of a profoundly negative gameplay experience. Now, back during 3.0, the 3.0 PTU, and into the live version of 3.0, in the beginning, the game was highly unstable, and it was a very difficult game to enjoy at times when you were constantly being kicked off the server. But as 3.0 progressed and more players started putting 3.0 aside and going back to doing whatever they were doing, playing whatever games they were playing, as the amount of people on the servers dropped, and in some cases it dropped very dramatically, the playability of 3.0 came up, the stability of the servers came up, and the experience of playing 3.0 went from being frustrating to actually very enjoyable. And I think I had commented on that a number of times, where it's like, I have sat here and played the game for maybe 3-4 hours straight, had no issues, had no disconnects, and it was a profoundly enjoyable experience. I realize that there are a lot of mechanics missing from the game, but I definitely see the potential here, and I'm starting to enjoy it. Whereas we come now to 3.1, a lot more people are back, they're playing it again, the game stability is down, and the experience has been, I would say, in terms of new features, in terms of new ships, and certainly the visual experience. I mean, is always a treat, but the day in, day out gameplay experience is often frustrating or, you know, disappointing because you're constantly being thrown back and knocked down by these stability issues. And I think that's one of the big things that should drive the payouts of missions up, is that kind of compensates for that frustration. Oh, well, no big deal. I still got plenty of money, or I can go shut down one comms relay and I'm going to get 5,000 or whatever amount of credits and I'm going to be back on track. So no big deal, no big loss. And maybe that allows me to go out and explore different facets of the game. Maybe I want to play as a pirate for a couple of weeks. Maybe I want to play as a trader. I can go out and do that because I have that freedom and that flexibility, because earning money in the current state of the game isn't all that hard. Now, once again, that's not to say that I think that mission payouts should remain astronomical, but I still think that it should be a lot easier in the current state of the game to actually make money in the game. Because one of the most important things about Star Citizen, one of the core things to the experience that makes it an enjoyable experience, is the stability of the game. And the only way to really test the stability and to build out the game in such a way that it is viable as an MMO and not as a single player or 3 or 4 people to a server experience, is to put as much stress on the servers as possible, to therefore build a very realistic picture of what you can expect of this game when it's live and in production. And the only way to draw a lot of people to the servers right now is to kind of offer that sort of compensation to kind of mitigate the difficulties and the frustrations that go along with dealing with a lot of these issues. Now, of course, having inflated mission rewards can create a false expectation, but when coupled with the stability issues, I think that that can leave the game, or the players of the game, or even people trying out the game, with a profoundly negative first impression. And I think that if you state clearly that these rewards are inflated to make up for this issue, and once the game has reached a certain level of stability, we're going to draw these rewards down to more accurately or more realistically reflect a real universe, then I think that having much higher rewards is entirely justified to mitigate any frustration or any disappointment felt by the user whenever the game decides it's time to have a little hiccup, which in the current build of the game is very, very frequently. Anyways, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.